Hey everybody, I'm back. I thought it would be a good idea now that I've given you some feedback on Essay 1 after grading it to spend a little time talking about some basic stuff that could be helpful to you in bringing in the outside sources that you need for round 2. So this is like a house we are building brick by brick. And so that's why we are taking it as a process here. So first things first, you got to get a grip on um, what you needed to do for essay 1, fix anything that wasn't clicking on that. And everybody had something that they did well and something that needed to be worked on. So go back, look at that, read it, whatever you need to do, watch it. If I made you a video, just depended on what you needed. And if you have any questions, definitely let me know. But we are, again, doing it brick by brick. We've got to make sure we got a solid foundation before we throw anything else into the mix, because it's a lot. But by the end, what you have created by the end is exactly what you need to be able to do to be able to write for college. Like, you will have all the skills you need to move on to the next level, guaranteed. So it's a lot, and that's okay. And that's why we're taking it step by step. So yes, you have a handbook. Yes, you have course content. Yes, you have probably taken quizzes on all this stuff at this point and done well on them, but I'm here to guide you through stuff. And so I thought it wouldn't hurt to just stop and look at some examples together and talk about citation and bringing the sources into the mix when it comes time to do so, so that you have a good handle on what you're doing and where to go to get resources and information and stuff, so that, all the resources in the world don't matter if you don't know how to use them, right? So here I am to show you a thing or two about a thing or two. So I am in the databases right now, and I was going to go to one of the ones that I recommended to y'all in the last video, which is Credo Reference, because I like it. It's good. And for those of you who checked it out, you might feel the same way. But again, it's like everything you need in one place. So now I'm going to look up something. So a lot of y'all seem to really like Henry David Thoreau as a philosopher. And that's not surprising, because his whole deal, as y'all know at this point, is what freedom and individualism and confidence in your dreams, and just like not letting anybody stand in your way. Very, go forth and live the life you always imagined, right? That is a very American ideal, right? And there's a reason for that. We have him to thank for that. And he was part of something called the Transcendentalist movement. And I know that because I teach early American literature, but you might not know that until you look the guy up and just find out a little bit more about him. So you're like, transcendentalist, what does that mean? Well, the word transcend, what does that mean? It means to go beyond or go above. What are we going beyond or above? Well, the idea that that humans are like sheep, or that we are inherently bad, or that we, when given the chance, will always choose the wrong thing, or always choose the selfish, yucky thing. No. The transcendentalist philosophy was man is fundamentally good, or can be good, but only if he, of course, is focused on guys. Though some of them were very early women's rights advocates, and slavery still existed when this was happening. So most of them were abolitionists as well, because that's all part of that. So the question is, all right, what is transcendentalism about, and where did that come from? Yada yada. So transcendentalist, he's like kind of the poster boy for that, but there are other philosophers who were part of it as well. And so this isn't a very detailed source here, might not be enough. So you may want to go down and see what else it's pointing you to. Let's see if this one down here is a little bit more helpful. Okay, that's looking pretty thorough. Again, you'd have to kind of look through it and see for yourself. And it may still be too complicated, because you're like, all right, well, gosh, I don't know anything about romanticism. I don't know anything about yada yada. It may still be a little bit too advanced, and you might need something that's a little bit more beginner level. But the idea here is that the Midnight Library, right, it gave y'all a crash course, a very sort of tasting course of lots of different philosophers and philosophies over thousands of years, lots of different perspectives on things in one go, right? It's a crash course. But all you really got was a taste. So now the problem we face is, Well, we need more than a taste, right? That's what a research paper is a good starting point. You're going to leave in there what you have, right? I'm going to take that out. You leave that in, but now we're going to make it even more in depth and enrich it even better. So that's where you're getting your source material from and bringing it in. Okay, so once you find stuff that you like, you have to be really careful about how you bring that stuff in. So yes, you can continue to use direct quotes, and that's fine. But remember too, when you did essay 1, when you were talking about specific stuff from the Midnight Library, that you still had to cite a page number, right? You still had to cite the author, Haig, and you still had to cite a page number. That was crucial. And a lot of y'all did a good job with that. The same concepts, the same rule applies with these outside sources as well. So the rules are the rules are the rules. They don't change depending on whether it's from the book, whether there's page numbers, whether there's whatever. The rules are the same regardless. Okay, so that's why you did that first, and now we're going to do it with these. You're going to apply what you've already learned. So if it was true for that, it's going to be true for this as well. So that's good. Okay, so you find something, you like it, you want to bring it in, make sure you don't put anything in there that you don't understand what it means, because again, the rules are the same. You need to explain quotes you bring in. You can't just have them crash into my living room like a car while I'm eating my dinner. You need to prep for the quote, and you need to explain the quote in your own words and like what it tells us and why it's significant. So make sure don't use it if you don't understand what it means, because I'll know. You can't fake it. And that's the challenge, right? So let's say you find something you do like this right here. You bring it in, right? If you use that word for word, you copy it, you put it into the essay. You of course put that in quotation marks. And we've also had some, I've had to kind of give folks some extra help on the whole single quotes thing. So remember, if it's already in quotation marks in the source and you're quoting, this part goes in single quotes and then the whole thing goes in doubles, because otherwise it gets really confusing. So it's like Russian nesting dolls, right? If it was already in quotation marks in the source, put that in singles and then take the whole thing and put it in doubles, right? Which again, you're getting really good practice with that already with the book. So we're going to do the same. The rules are the rules are the rules. All right. So you put that in there. So now, what if I put some information that I learned from the source in my own words? Well, just like with the Midnight Library, that needs to be cited as well in text. How do we cite it in text? Well, the rules are, if you have an author, cite the author, like you had one with the book, Haig. So first things first, we find out if you have an author name. Okay, I'm seeing author names here, Brett Barney, Lisa Paddock. Sometimes you have to look around a little bit to find that information. And also, you can typically look at the works cited entry for a source to figure that out as well, because it'll be in there. Here's a neat trick. Most database sources will give you a works cited entry for the article. You just have to hit a citation button. Now, where that citation button is depends on the database. It varies. But you can't totally go on autopilot here, guys, because look, it gives you different options: APA, Chicago, Harvard, MLA. So if you copied and pasted this in, it would be spectacularly incorrect, because we do not use APA. We use MLA. And I will immediately see that and be like, hey, I straight up told you not to do that. MLA, right? So this is what you would copy and put in the works cited page. So here's one I made earlier. So I dump it in there. I'm not done yet. Okay. I have to go through and format when I have all my entries in there. But for now, we'll just dump it in there. So because I can look at the beginning of the entry is always where the author names will be. Always. That's the rule. Brett Barney and Lisa Paddock. So the way we cite that in text, and you can look this up in your handbook, there's a whole directory on in-text citations. It would be Barney and Paddock, period. What about a page number? Well, most online sources don't have page numbers. Don't make one up, okay? If there's no page number, don't worry about it. But this will connect back to this, right? This will be in the essay wherever you use the Barney and Paddock source every time you do. So I know where you used it. And then this will be the works cited entry that will get me back to your source to look at for myself. That's how that works. Now with the Midnight Library, we're all using the same source. But for this, y'all are going to be all over the place. So this is super important. And if I can't get back to the source myself, we have a serious problem. So you have to have both the in-text citations in the essay and the works cited entry for this to work. Otherwise, it is at best partial credit. because that's technically plagiarism for missing citation. It's a very big deal. So I hope you're taking it seriously. And if you're confused, let me know. Okay, so that's how you'd cite that in text. What about a non-database source? So I went to Wikipedia, and yes, you can use Wikipedia. I know Wikipedia gets a bad rap, but that's because a lot of people don't actually understand fully how it works. And I've spent a lot of time, having students look at Wikipedia sources and articles and go behind the scenes to see how they're built and who's actually in charge of putting them together and monitoring and stuff. It's actually much, much more complicated and sophisticated than it's far from perfect. But most things are. It's not inherently a bad source though, on its own, and it depends on what the subject is. I mean, like anything else. So one thing it's good at is it updates really, really quickly versus database sources, which are sort of set in stone, right? Now, for something like this, there's not like we have a whole ton of new information about transcendentalism because, like it says, 1820s, 1830s. So, that's not a huge deal. But if you looked up like the election results right now on Wikipedia, that's all going to be very loosey-goosey for a minute. So it just depends on the subject. It's nuanced, as many things are. So let's say I'm using this as my non-database online source. And as you can see, it's a little bit more like a beginner level, as Wikipedia is known for, and that's one of the things that's good about it. So whatever you got from here, again, you'd have to cite it in text, and you'd have to have a works cited entry for that. So it will not give you a works cited entry. And I would not recommend using a citation generator for putting together a works cited entry or trying to do your in-text citation or anything, because they're not good. They're not good at what they do. And they're always wrong in the same ways. And it's just like, it's not that hard to do it from scratch. So you have your handbook. You should use the short work from a website format because that covers every kind of online source there is, really. It's the basic format for that. And I can do it off the cuff because I've done it enough times, but I'll show you in real time what to do. So first things first, just like the other kind of source, we need to figure out the author. Now, the one thing Wikipedia is known for is not having discernible authors, right? That's what people don't like about it. But guess what? That's true of like pretty much any reference source. Nobody knows who writes each individual entry for a dictionary or encyclopedia a lot of the time, and nobody cares. That's just not, and we don't put an editor name because that's not who actually wrote the article a lot of the time. It's writers who they're paid to just write about whatever they need to, and then the editor puts that together. So that's not the same. And also, like, you can't put Wikipedia contributors or any of that kind of stuff because that doesn't help me either. Like, duh, right? I mean, who else would have done it? So it needs to be an actual human being, like a human person's name or names. And we're never going to get those here. So we go with the next best thing, the next most specific thing about the source, which is the title. Okay. So that is going to look like this. Whoops. Transcendent. Can she spell? Period. Right. Then we have the name of the website, Wikipedia. Right. And that's going to go in italics later because that's what we do. And I'll fix that in a second. And then we need to put the sponsor or like whoever created the page. That's important information because we want to know who's like paying to put something up. We want to know who is money talks with these things. And we want to know who is paying for stuff. So Wikipedia, so that's where you go to an about page or at the bottom, who's got the trademark. So in this case, it's Wikimedia Foundation, Inc. So I'm going to make my life easy and just copy this. And then I'll take off the whatever if I need to. Nah, I'll do it. Wikimedia Foundation, Inc. Okay. That wasn't too bad. And then we put the date of last update, so 15 October 2024. Like that. Again, I can do this from memory more or less because I've done it a million times, but you have examples in your Bedford Handbook for a reason, okay? Don't just wing it. I can definitely tell who was winging it with the last one with the Midnight Library. Like, I don't know why you would try to do that. You don't need to. There's no room for creativity with this stuff, y'all. Transcendentalist, Wikipedia, Wikimedia Foundation, date, and then you'd put the URL. Okay, so the URL is like the web address that's at the top. So we copy that and we put that in there. Great. Okay. Italics for this. Again, I just know that, but you do whatever the example in your handbook tells you to do. So these are single space. They don't use a hanging indent. We'll deal with all that later, but all right. And then I don't care if you leave the link on like that. Some people don't like it. Some instructors will give you a hard time. I don't care. I'm easy like that. So what am I going to put in this then when I have to cite it in text in the essay, which I will if I use it. And I have to use it because I said I used it in my works cited page, right? That's why this is important. If I get to a works cited page and I see sources that never showed up and I can't tell where or even if you use them, we got a big problem. You have to have both. Otherwise, yeah, it's not that I don't trust you, but this is how we build trust. Can't take anything on trust in this 2024, almost 2025. Okay, so what I would put is whatever's at the beginning of the entry, just like this. So if Barney and Paddock is the beginning of this entry, and Transcendentalist is the beginning of this one, well, logic would dictate Transcendentalist. Oh my gosh, can she do it? Oh, it's painful, sorry. Now I'm going to leave the period out, but I got to have those quotation marks in there because we use those for article titles. This is super important. If the title of the source was like Henry David Thoreau, y'all, because if you just put Henry David Thoreau in there and you don't put any quotation marks around it, I'm not going to know whether you're talking like you're citing an article about Henry David Thoreau or you're citing the dude Henry David Thoreau as an author. Okay. So unless you go out and find his original writings and read those and use those, which like, hey, don't let me stop you, but I don't think you're going to want to do it because it's not very, it's good, but it's not, casual reading. Unless you did that, you shouldn't be citing him as the author because any quotes you got from him, right, that came from Midnight Library, which is by Haig. So it'd be quoted in Haig. We went, gone through this some already. Okay. So it'd be like that. Transcendentalist, Barney and Paddock. Great. And then Haig for Midnight Library. And then you have your entry for the Midnight Library. So that's going to be 3 entries total in your works cited page. So let's get rid of these guys for a second. And just for fun, it'd be like Haig, Matt, and then Midnight Library. You know how to do this already. If I had one ready to go, that'd be better. But so just let's do a yada yada here, right? Trust. So notice I put it in the middle because we do alphabetical order for these. I'm going to put everything together. I'm going to smoosh it all together, and you'll see why in a second. Oh, because formatting is tricky, right? I'm going to make it the same font because otherwise it looks like crapola. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to double space it because we don't want single spaced entries, just like we don't want single spaced essays. And then I'm going to set a hanging indent. So watch this. I'm going to do all 3 at once. Right? Don't use a tab button. Don't try to do it manually. Instead, you're going to highlight all of it. You're going to go to paragraph. You're going to go here to indentation, special, drop-down menu, hanging. Crossing fingers this works on the first go. Oh, look at that. Beautiful. Just look at that. Now, because this is only one line, right, it makes it look kind of weird. But yes, this is correct. You got the hanging indent. And then you put works cited, not works plural. No giant, no bold, no nothing. Center it like any other title. Imagine that part's finished and boom, that's the works cited page. That's it. That's what it should look like. You've got an example in your book, but now you've seen somebody put one together in real time. Right? And you've seen somebody cite in text in real time. Now, it'd be better if I could do it in an essay for you, but I think that was still pretty good, all things considered. So we'll find out on the draft, and I'll have more feedback for you, but hopefully this will give you a sense of like what to do with the sources once you have them and how to cite them in the paper well enough so that we can go from there. Okay. But again, if there's nothing in there, if you don't have the citations in there when you submit the draft, well, you're on your own. Good luck. It never goes well, but maybe it will for you. Who knows? live the life you always imagined, right? Okay, that's it. I think I've tortured you enough, but I hope you found this helpful, and I appreciate you watching. And hang in there, y'all. We are going to get to the end, and by the end, you are going to be so good. Faith. All right, take care. Bye-bye.